circumstance to go. Leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been left this dance to go. Leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away to go. Leave me, run like you never did. No, leave me, run like you've never run before.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast, brought to you by the Scottish Rugby Blog, the all-new Scottish Rugby Podcast, I should say. We've had a bit of a relaunch this week, so you might notice some lovely new branding on your podcast apps and in the top corner as well of the live stream. Joining me this evening, we've got Iain Hay. Good evening, Iain.
Yes, but because it's an all-new podcast, I've been recast.
Have you? Is that because you're drinking coffee and oat milk?
It's because I'm drinking vegan-y coffee. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what we've. Is that we're relaunching Iain Hay?
No, we're not going that far. But if we could, that'd be nice. Sorry, I'm just taking my shoes off. Hence the straining there. Yeah. Anyway, that's done. Hi.
Good. I'm glad we got that out of the way. And also joining us this evening, we've got Craig Manson. Good evening, Craig.
Good evening. How are we doing? My part of the relaunch is fitting in with you two boys. I've brought the beard back, so
very good. You've got to be on brand. That's the other part of the brand. Is that everybody on this podcast has to have a beard. Yes, we're doing a bit of a relaunch. There'll be some minor differences. You don't have to resubscribe or anything to the podcast streams, but what you will notice is the main podcasts that you'll get through your podcast app is going to be around 40 to 60 minutes in length. You'll get news. We're doing Pick of the Six while the Super Six is on, which we'll get onto in a minute. And something called Belters and Bams, where we just kind of pick up on the good and the bad from the week. And then that's your lot. If you're a Patreon, and you can subscribe to the Patreon at patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast from £3 a month. If you're a Patreon, you're going to get hands in the ruck, and we are going to swear during that because, as any regular patrons will know, swearing is allowed on Patreon podcasts. So during the live stream will end for most people apart from our patrons after Belters and Bams, and then we'll have a little 5-minute comfort break, and we'll be a chance to go in and kind of consult the Profanosaurus and come back all guns blazing and do some hands in the ruck. So hopefully that should be hopefully that'll work out well. There's not been much news because there isn't much going on in the world at the moment now the Lions is finished. However, Craig, it's probably worth mentioning because we didn't cover this on the podcast previously because we were kind of mainly focused on the Lions the last few weeks, but Duncan Hodges left Edinburgh.
Yes, yeah, he has. It's it's 12 years now, and he's been he has what's the word? He's been a very, very good servant to the club, and he's done a fair few things, and we're very appreciative of him and his time. But I don't think he really was going to fit in with Mike Blair's philosophy, I believe.
Yeah, it's difficult because, like I said, he's been around the club for a few years, but I suppose that there's not been a lot of kind of new blood and new coaches brought in to replace him or give fresh ideas. Maybe surprising he's been around that long, I guess. Yeah.
I think I don't know. I don't know whether they decided that because he took on the interim coach for a period of time that he was going to get rewarded with a little bit more time when Cockers came on board. But Cockers also, I don't know if Cockers really knows what an attack looks like. So I think he needed someone there to help him. But you never know. You might see him turn up alongside a revamped England coaching team and see an attack.
Duncan Hodge.
Oh yeah, you never know. Eh? Anything he can do probably might improve England a little bit. You never know.
Well, Cockers is apparently Iain off to England.
Is that going to be his forwards coach? Is it or?
Yeah. I can imagine. I'm not sure that the forwards are going to be welcoming the idea of having Eddie Jones and Richard Cockrell beasting them on national windows.
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. There's already been frequent murmurings of players thinking that Eddie Jones drives people too hard. And then we've had John Barclay saying the same about Richard Cockrell, and murmurings of Richard Cockrell driving people too hard. So I think you're just adding kerosene to the fire there. It's like you're a Munster player at a barbecue.
It's going to be immense. Just think, if you thought the England team weren't enjoying themselves being part of the England team already, just wait. I think it's like just grumpy old men. It's like Victor Meldrew or a still game has just started again down in England. The pair of them sitting there, look, he's crap. Yeah, oh yeah, he's crap as well. And it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. I might the press conferences, if they unleash Richard Cockrell at a press conference around Calcutta Cup time, are going to be interesting now. But I think it's yet to be officially announced, so we'll see.
We'll wait and see, yeah.
We'll wait and see. He's still, interestingly though, they always still call him in most of the rugby press as former Leicester director of rugby, Richard Cockrell, despite the fact he was at Edinburgh for 4 years.
No, apparently we don't. But we'll soon see when Mike Blair revs us up a little bit. We'll see how far we get.
Okay, I haven't done it. I did promise, and apologies to Martin Bell who requested a new jingle for Pick of the Six. There is one coming. There's been issues this week that have meant that it hasn't happened. It's basically going to be me singing Pick of the Six to the Blankety Blank theme tune because I think I can get away with it for rights reasons. It scans. It's fine. So we're doing Pick of the Six during the Super Six season, which should take us up to the United Rugby Championship. I'll get that right, not the Ultimate, the United Rugby Championship. And it is I've written it down, the 4-sock Super Six.
Fosrock, isn't it?
I've written that down as well. No.
I don't know.
Foursock. I kept saying Fosrock. I've said you've ruined it. I thought we would get it right this week, Iain.
Am I wrong?
I thought Dougie Donnelly, not Dougie Donnelly.
5 Pond.
5 Ponds. I was close. I got confused with the jingle. I was thinking of the jingle. He was calling it the Fosrock as well.
It is the Fosrock. You've right. I've just double checked. I've written it down. wrong. I thought I'm going to write it down this week, so I'll get it right, and I've written it down wrong.
I always get the Heineken Cup because is it ERPC or EPRC? I always get the P.
They both got. They've given them in Europe. They've given them the really similar names. And it's really, really weird because then it's hard to. Isn't what won the challenge and won the champions?
Yeah, but there was one season where it was when they didn't have a big
initials.
sponsor on it. Was there was initials going on, and if you typed in the wrong ones, you ended up with some human resources firm based in San Francisco or something. So that's not where I can find out the referees for this weekend. No, that's not right.
Yeah, so it is the Foz Rock. I must remember. As discussed previously, I must think of Fuzzy Bear with a guitar, and I'll remember it. So pick of the six. There's 3 games this week. The idea is we just kind of pick out kind of what we liked, what we enjoyed, a couple of talking points each from the games. Craig, I'll start with you. And what's your kind of pick of the 6 this week?
Well, obviously, it was the Stirling Heriots game on. It was on or played on Free Sports, and then you had to catch up online with the other games or on the Scottish rugby platforms. Heriots are showing. I thought they would get their act together, but they are showing quite regularly that they are not ready for this season. How Stirling managed to lose that game, I do not know, because Stirling looked very, very good in attack, and they looked phenomenal in defence. They did an incredibly good job in defence, but Heriots there was gaps everywhere, and they weren't realigning, and it was. It struck me that they looked like a club side below the Super 6 level at the moment, which is a shame because they've got some phenomenal players in there that need to show their to step up.
I think I had something similar because I think there's a gap starting to show now between the top 3 teams, then Stirling, and then Boroughmuir Bears and Heriots. And for me, the difference is conditioning. I think that the talent's there, like you said, it's the fact that they're winning games against, they have no right to win against Stirling shows they've got the skills. So it's not a skill set one, but if you look at, particularly in the front row, you've got guys that look like the club players playing at what should be a semi-professional level. So I don't know if that's just coronavirus has hit their preparation, so they've not been able to sign. They're kind of having to scrat around for club players who can come in and do a job for them early doors. But they don't look like they're in the same condition when it's apples and you're comparing apples and pears when you literally in terms of body shapes, when you get, if you're comparing them to kind of the condition of Watsonians or the Southern Knights and Ayr as well, they're all really well conditioned teams. But like you said, just Heriots and Boroughmuir as well to a certain extent. I know I said in the opening weekend, I thought that Boroughmuir, if they cut out the mistakes, could be a very good side. But again, they're struggling. I think maybe the fact they're playing Heriots in the opening weekend maybe kind of made them look better than they were.
I think it's. I just don't see. They don't seem to have any cohesion at the moment in time. And I agree with you about Boroughmuir. I think Boroughmuir. That was one of my points in what I've been, watching, and Boroughmuir seemed to have some phenomenal players at their disposal, and they just don't seem to be coming together as well. So I don't know whether it's a lack because of COVID. I think everything in the world is going to be blamed on COVID for the next couple of years. But it just seems they just don't seem to be right. I don't know.
And I don't want to keep coming back to the format of the Super Six. And it's a fact that we have 3 teams based in Edinburgh. So the pool of, particularly front row, which is a specialist position. Other positions, you can find a tall lad to fill in at lock. You can find enough people to fill in the back row, and you can probably find enough backs. But getting somebody who can play front row for you in a pool like as big as Edinburgh for 3 teams is always going to be a struggle. And I don't know if that maybe plays into a bit, Ian.
Well, or conversely, the beautiful sights of Edinburgh could attract people, but then of course the problem is you're importing, and although, well, I mean, what did they say about the Super Six? Is it a develop? It's not a development
No,
league.
it's not a
but
development league.
Yeah, but you know, it's often seen as a step to going pro. That is one thing I was sort of going to mention as unfortunately I'm going to start on a downer in my Super Six chat. It is quite nice to see that the teams are playing expansive, or they're trying to be ambitious. They're playing expansive rugby. You saw like Watsonians, for example, when they were 7-3 up. They easy kick at goal to extend the lead, but instead they ran it, and eventually got a try. But coming off the back of the Dower Test series, we know that packs and set pieces, having a solid set piece wins games. And that's the sort of one area which doesn't, nobody really looks cohesive, or like that's one of their strengths. I remember Gordon Reid, when he was, after his stint at Ayrshire Bulls, he'd said, he didn't think the scrummaging was up to much. That's maybe a bit of a worry.
It certainly doesn't seem to be that way. If you're looking at if we go back to the Heriots in the Stirling County game, they had reset after reset and penalty after penalty. There was no. I think just so it started to get into the end of the game, we started to see some scrums that were actually being completed. So it is a difficult thing. But then you look at, there are a lot of the. Well, I had to have a wee look at some of the forwards and thinking that they're not in condition. They just didn't look like they're in condition. If these are semi-professional, they're meant to be semi-professional players, and if you're thinking they're going to step up into an Edinburgh or a Glasgow game or into a team to, their fitness seems way off.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if we're not saying this, even if you're not looking at it as a development league, even if you're just saying this is the SRU saying this is a product that we want people to buy into, we want to kind of grow the game of rugby. This is where you'll see the stars of tomorrow, but also it's an opportunity for guys who haven't quite made it to the professional level, but are good enough to play at this level. Here's this product to put together, and that's no good if you've got club level props, because what are you seeing that's any different? So I agree. I think the conditioning needs to be sorted, because otherwise you're not going to get there's no difference. There's no point of difference in the Super Six as a product to the Premiership.
Yeah,
if they're not going to raise the level, and you wonder whether or not one of the answers is, I guess, in the SRU's interest for this product to work. So whether or not you send somebody in, like who's Scotland scrum forwards coach at the minute? It's
Massimo Fertitta.
No,
he's
no,
died.
it's
De Villiers. That's how I knew the. Yes.
Whether there's a role for someone like De Villiers to go around all the teams as a resource, or to give them as a resource and say you can tap into high level coaching and we'll come and sort your scrums out, because we need the scrum. We can't have reset after reset. We can't have these guys going down because we want people to come.
I would, but then is it then a development league? You've got coaches. There's coaches that are being paid to go and to actually work with these teams. They're getting paid money, they're part time or whatever they are. You've got some of that. You've got Ryan. Is it Ryan Grant? I think that's gone to one of the teams as well, or is he in one of the Premiership teams? Anyway, but they're bringing these coaches through. They should be really aligning with the Scotland setup.
I guess the answer is after the season. If guys aren't willing to come in and do the conditioning work and get themselves into shape, and we give them a bye this year because it's not a normal season and they've maybe struggled for front rows. If they can't get good quality, well conditioned front rows, I know there are plenty playing in the Premiership, National 1, National 2, National 3 who are probably in much better nick and condition, who could go and do a job. We give somebody else a chance, sign somebody else up. But the something I was thinking, Ian, in terms of what you were saying about just the the fact they're playing expansive rugby, I think is great for the obviously for the spectator, but I do think, in particular, the Watsonians Boroughmuir game, I think the better teams need to be a bit more ruthless with the defence and with the Boroughmuir scored that try through Kaleem Burrito, and that it was a phenomenal try, step and go, and it was the only thing they really looked like doing all day. But aside from that, they shouldn't have. They should have really shut up shop when they were that far ahead. And I think the same with some of the other teams. You see that, it's great to have these high scoring games, but I'd much rather, I think if the longer term game is for these teams to start moving and playing into cross border competitions, the guys say maybe English Championship sides or Irish club sides or whatever, Welsh sides, whatever. You can't do that because you're going to get absolutely punished unless you can show a ruthless streak and say, do you know what, you guys aren't up to this. We'll score our points and then we're going to shut up shop. You can't be the All Blacks against Australia every weekend.
Yeah, I particularly imagine that. I mean, having seen what the Irish provinces did to Glasgow and Edinburgh last year, and their style is, the number of tries that Ulster scored from lineouts. That seems to be the sort of don't want to stereotype, but that seems to be the Irish way. They've got a really good. They work off a really solid set piece game, and if our Super Six sides go against that, they will, get taught a pretty harsh lesson. Harsh, yeah. Yes, you know what I mean.
What do you mean?
Aye, good. I'm glad we got that sorted.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing though, I suppose it's good is Mike Blair releasing players, Craig. The fact that we've got Jacob Henry's playing, doing really good on the wing for for Southern Knights. Jordan, the long awaited kind of appearance of Jordan Venter, the kind of 16. We could come across a 16-year-old Wunder kid, him kind of getting a run out. So I suppose a head coach of a Scottish pro side giving it some legitimacy and saying this is a competition that I want my fringe players playing in is good because it raises the standard of competition, I guess.
Yeah, they've been they've been doing it for a little while and aligning certain fringe players, because I think I've seen pictures of Duan van der Merwe in a Harriet strip as well when he's a boyhood club, I believe. The only issue you have is then the pressure is on, and Nathan Chamberlain really showed that on the weekend, and he looked particularly poor on the weekend, and I don't know whether that was because he wasn't getting good ball from set piece, or whether he didn't have the other players backing him up, or what it was. He just looked out of sorts, and I think so. The correspondence between a full professional side and then going to a Super Six side does seem to still be quite a big gap. Whether it's the level of the guys you're playing with, or whether you just have you just have a bad day, because it was just a bad day for him on the weekend.
Yeah. But then I guess we had Ross. It obviously did good for Ross Thompson last season, Ian, because he's doing well. He's done very exceptionally well at Glasgow, and he played a few games for Bulls last season.
Yes, he played for Bulls, and also Brandon Thompson played a couple of games. I don't know if he was. I think he played for Bulls, but he got a couple of run-outs, and he never looked like he was comfortable even at that level. His confidence was gone.
That's just because of the high standard of Super Six rugby, and that's why.
Indeed. I've also even like Rory Hughes and Stafford McDowell played a couple of times as well, and McDowell looked like he was one of the best players on the park, certainly. But I mean, one thing I suppose we could talk about is the performance of Mark Morrison. We heard I think last week. Lee Miller, Watsonian's captain, and sort of arguably the best standoff in the league last season. He's going to be out for the rest of the season, but Mark Morrison has stepped up and he has booted quite beautifully. He was outstanding. I know that Johnny wanted us to talk about the quality 50-22s in the Watsonians Boroughmuir game. He hit two absolute belters.
Yeah.
And other kick at the touch, he absolutely, for a wee, he doesn't look like there's much to him, but he absolutely weathered that ball. He had plenty of distance, and that really, his territorial gains really laid a platform for Watsonians to turn the screw. So he's definitely one to watch. He's Scottish qualified. We'll see if there's a wee bit of the Finn Russell to him. He looks pretty confident.
The other one, obviously worth watching, is the guy playing standoff for Bulls this weekend as well, who's got a very familiar surname. There was a certain Townsend playing 10, and he looks. He obviously it's Gregor's son, but he was one of the brighter ones in when the under-20s played England this year. He grabbed himself a really, really good try, and I thought he looked really confident as well. He again, there's kind of shades of Finn Russell, I suppose, and Townsend as well. With the way that he was playing, he threw a couple of good offloads, and he shifted the ball around well as well.
Yeah. He looked particularly good, I think, and that's where you look at the other standoffs within all the games, and these guys are getting the chance to make and say, well, you're signed on with a professional club, and look at me, and I think that's what this competition will give those players, the fringe players, and both the professional teams, some healthy competition.
Yeah. The other thing I quite liked, I thought the referees have been really good in the Super Six. I think it comes back to something we were talking about. And Craig, we were talking about this with the Lions tour about how much referees talk at the top level, but there's none of that. Well, from what the games I was watching, there's not much of that. You get your warning, and then you're pinged for it.
Yeah,
which is as it should be. It's absolutely spot on. It's you get your warning, and then they were blown up straight away.
Yeah, it's been for me, it was just lovely to actually watch rugby without a physio barking orders to fold from the dead ball area. There was not very many water boys on the park, and I'm not pointing that you can go on a bit rassy, but I'm talking more about just as normal when you're watching a game. All these people come on the park whenever there's a break in play. You didn't have that, so it was good. And also, what I liked about it is that the referees were working with their assistant referees very well, because they didn't have a TMO to go to, so it was very much go over. What do you think? And I saw the referee on the Stirling Heriots game was about to do. I think he was going to give a yellow card, if I remember correctly, to Ian Wilson, and the assistant referee said, "No, actually, let's have a look at this." And they talked about it, and they actually said, "Right, okay, it's just a penalty," which I think was a correct decision, even though Ian might disagree with me.
I don't think it was the correct decision, because he'd already basically had him with his head pointing towards the ground before the county players came in, and sort of completed the foul for him. It was reckless, and it put him in a really dangerous position. I think it was a yellow card.
No, well, you see, I'm not particularly sure. I thought he was going in for the whole holding the ball into the body, and he just got caught the wrong way, and he went back and took him with him. He could have let go, I guess, but then if he lets go when the guy's up in the full suplex position, then he's going to hit his head on the ground. So at least he put him down correctly, I felt. But we could argue that all night, I suppose. And plus, he's an ex-Howe player, so I can't say very much.
There was another one. I think, was it the Bears Watsonians, where two players from each side got yellow cards for afters?
Yeah.
And again, that's just good refereeing, isn't it? It's like, I've had enough. I've given you a warning, no more, and then one of each of you go off.
Yeah, because earlier on, I think Ian Kenny just lost patience, because the second half, the first half of that game was excellent. I thought it was really entertaining, but then the second half just became a bit of a penalty fest. Because remember, there was a penalty was awarded for somebody sarcastically tapping the ass of a Boroughmuir player. And then, like you said, there'd been a few wee handbags, and then once it was going off for like the fourth time, it was like, right, you two, I've had enough, both eat off. So yes, that was good to see, and no need for lots of discussions with the assistant about who'd started it all and all this. It's just the pair of you just acting like
one each. I don't care who you're off.
Pair of wallopers. Off you go.
Yeah.
Any other picks for you, Ian?
Wanted to just a wee highlight from the Eric's game, that Jed Gelderbloom tackle, the try saver in the corner. That was Chris Patterson-esque. Did you see that?
Yeah.
What an excellent tackle. He was really good when he came on. So that's another thing. And is it Harvey Elms with some nice touchline acrobatics? Oh, and who's the Callum Marshall? I know you'd picked up on the Boroughmuir and the Watsonians player coming to it was when the ball bounced, he managed to pick it up in one fluid motion. Did you see Callum Marshall's charge down?
Yeah,
I think Jordan Trotter's kick, and he managed to catch it. That's incredible.
Yeah, that was how he got that ball. That was that was, I don't know. I think maybe the camera angle kind of threw us, because I think it did actually bounce on the ground, but it bounced straight up right into his hands.
Yeah. But still to be able to regather like that and then just charge for the line, it's
fabulous.
So yes, there's been some good skills. I mean, I think there's maybe been some cohesion issues. Obviously, it was the first time they've played. It's only like apart from their warm-up games and all that, there's third competitive game in 16 months or so. There's been some nice little bits of flair. Stuart Saunders scored a magnificent try for Herrick's last week.
Yeah. And even that, I mean, like, Archie Russell's try, for Stirling, where he just, the line he took to kind of then barge through was, it was lovely. And, Archie Russell's he's not thin, and but he's played at a decent level. He's played at varsity level. So there's enough skill on show. I think it's just, like I said, a part of it's conditioning. I think for the teams at the bottom end, there's conditioning issues. For the teams at the top end, I think it's just maybe you need to show a little bit more ruthlessness. Like you said, Ian, there's no reason for the Watsonians Boroughmuir game to kind of fall into that kind of, penalty fest in the second half. If Watsonians could have just tightened it up and just seen the game out, to be honest, and nobody would have criticised them for doing so. And that's the kind of things I think that need tightening up. I was speaking to Rhiannon that was on the podcast last week. She said she'd be keen to come back, and I jokingly said, I'll not make you watch any Super Six. And she said, no, she actually said she'd be keen to. So I wonder, it'd be interesting to kind of we might get somebody on the podcast who's not Scottish and say, look, watch one of these games and genuinely, give us because I think that from a skill point of view, I think it's up there. I think there's other issues that can be fixed. But from an entertainment point of view and from a skill point of view, I think it's a very good standard. But I worry that I think if complacency sets in that this is good enough, then it's not going to go anywhere. I think if they can sort the other issues out, then it's a very, very good competition potentially, Craig.
Yeah. I for example, we haven't mentioned them yet, but the Southern Knights do seem to have a fair bit of control on them, and they can shut down or open up the game as they seem to as they wish. So they seem to. In fact, they're probably my tip for the. I know Johnny's pinned his Watsonians. He's flagged to the master Watsonians, but I think that the Southern Knights could do well if they get the football and goals off their pitch, which I noticed, which was sacrilege in the south. But no, I think they are looking like they're going. I would say they probably improve. If they can improve on that.
I think they've been unlucky that they played Stirling the first weekend when everyone was finding their feet, because otherwise, I agree. I think they've been very good. I think the Bulls look good. I think those top three teams, the Watsonians, Bulls, and Southern Knights, all have something about them. But I think probably Bulls and Southern Knights for me are the two that look like they've got more sorted across the board than the other four.
I think especially, I think if you look at, I suppose, Watsonians, but very much the Southern Knights. I want to call Southern Knights every time I think of it. I'm thinking more. I'd rather start calling them Melrose.
Mr. Manson.
I got trouble from my missus for doing the accents. She doesn't like my accents, but I think Melrose have been at that top level for some time, and so they understand what's needed, and so they're automatically. They're at that level almost already for the control of the game. I think it'll be an interesting. If we could get, you're always going to have a team within the league that is probably borderline should be in that league or should be in the league below them. But you're always going to have that. But I think that there is a lot of potential out of all the teams. But as you say, the top three are definitely shining at this moment in time.
Yeah. Any more picks from either of you for the pick of the six?
No, I think I'm good. I didn't see the full match of the Ayrshire Bulls. Well, I've seen the highlights. Did they have it? Was it on? Was the full match on? Anyway?
It's on, so you can watch the Friday night matches live on BBC, and then it's on the Scottish Rugby YouTube channel afterwards. Yep. The other two games are then live on Free Sports, and you can download the Free Sport app and watch them afterwards as well. If you live outside the UK, you can watch them on the Scottish Rugby YouTube channel, I think. But they're geo-blocked from in the UK.
So I watched the Watsonians Boroughmuir game through the YouTube channel, and I've got the series link set up for the Free Sports, and that only had Stirling. That's Stirling this weekend.
Yeah, it just had Stirling.
Yeah,
on this weekend.
Yeah.
Aye, so I'll need to try and find their match.
So, yep, very good. We'll go to belters and bams now. So this is kind of our things. The belters are obviously good things. Bams are bam pots. It doesn't have to be an individual. It can just be kind of something that's annoyed us and bothered us. If you've got any belters and bams, just feel free to get in touch in the normal way. You can get in touch with us on Twitter. I'm at Cammy Black, or we've got at Scott Rugby Blog. If you search on Facebook, we're on Scottish Rugby Podcast. We're on Instagram, Scottish Rugby Podcast as well. And you can email me, podcast@scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. Mostly it's people offering me random PR stuff. I keep getting offered, the same man keeps emailing me asking if I want to interview people about haulage.
Nice.
I know. If you want his details, Craig, you chat with him. He keeps saying, I've got a man who can talk to you about the difficulties in the American haulage industry. And I'm like...
Is that front row training?
Well, we do like to, tip truck tires and stuff like that. That's what it is.
It's like, mate, if you can get me an interview with Peter Wright, then I'm up there. It's fine. I've got a belter. I'll start with a belter. Louise Dalglish, who's a former Scottish international, has been appointed the assistant coach of Japan Women's, which is very exciting. See a kind of, a female Scottish coach being picked up and moving elsewhere. I think she was with, she played for Scotland. She's coached Scotland under 18s for a bit, and then coached some women's teams in Scotland. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, Daggie's fantastic. She actually ended her coaching in Scotland on a win as well. She coached the Pigbarians to an Edinburgh Sevens women's win in their second. I think it was their Sofo Cup as well. She's done it. She's great, and my wife is involved with Pigbarians and knows Daggy quite well, and they are. She's done Scotland women a huge service, and good luck in Japan. She'll knock out the park,
Yeah, it's really. I think it's quite exciting to see Scottish coaches, particularly a Scottish woman coach, getting the recognition and getting some international experience, because that's only, I think, in the longer term, that's only a good thing, not just kind of for the reputation of Scotland overseas, but developmentally, that it's something that potentially might bring back to Scotland or just go elsewhere, and obviously she'll be in contact with people, so it's an exciting move.
I would certainly, for me, I would certainly watch her, because if she's going to get a lot of experience out there, it'll be quite an interesting journey for her. But I would like to eventually see her back coaching Scotland women, and being involved in that side of things as well. Because in my experience of women's rugby, there's nothing better than a female coach coaching a female team. And I think we need to power. We need to make sure that this happens. And in fact, to be perfectly honest, there are fantastic women's coaches out there that will coach men as well. And get involved and bring a lot of their experience too. So I think.
Well, we saw that in the Lions too, didn't we? They had a female coach in the, a physio technically, but coaching the South African.
She knew how to fold it. That's for sure.
Iain, have you got any belters or bammers this week?
Belter, quite literally, Damien McKenzie and his 59-metre penalty. Oofed.
He looked like a deranged stork approaching the ball, though.
Well, it works. It's,
I know.
That's not if a mullet's going to give you that, that's for sure. The mullet seems to be the power.
It was more the way that he kind of pounced, like kind of approached it, kind of snuck up on the ball as though it wasn't expected him.
If I take it by surprise, it'll go further.
I did enjoy the stat that said that even if you only counted tries scored by players with mullets, New Zealand still would have beaten Australia this weekend.
They've all got mullets, so it doesn't really. It's still a 15-man game. Speaking of which, then BAMs, with the exception of Michael Hooper and Tate McDermott, the rest of the Australia team, because they just collapsed. It's through 2 intercept tries in that game. They were still in it, and then had a man advantage, and then just absolutely, you think Scotland are good for shooting themselves in the foot. This was a capitulation. And
we're sure playing Australia this year.
Oh yeah, but it's reminding me a lot of Dave Rennie's first season in charge at Glasgow, where you get good results, but then we're always trying something too much. Against you came up against a Leinster or a Munster or Scarlets, as we did in that that scorching hot day, which burnt all their skin, all their poor wee knees. They capitalise on those mistakes.
It's the Kevin Keegan thing or the Newcastle thing, isn't it? It's like I'll deliver you fantastic, amazing. You'll lose a lot, but you'll lose scoring 30 points. The other team will just have 450.
Yeah, because that's. How does Matt Taylor keep getting these big jobs? Seriously, his defensive system's clearly been worked out. Because Scotland's defence is going rapidly downhill, and then that's Australia just had their biggest ever tanking after New Zealand, and New Zealand have dished out quite a few tankings to Australia. So a bit of to tighten. I think they need to tighten up. They're defending sort of Super Six level against the All Blacks. It's really not going to help you.
Yeah. I kind of think, I suppose if you tighten up it'd be interesting to see the All Blacks South Africa this year. And because that's, obviously we got the All Blacks, haven't we, in the autumn, haven't we? Got the All Blacks in the Springboks? Or have I got that wrong?
No, with Springboks, we've got
Tonga, Springboks, Japan.
No. We got Argentina.
I thought the All Blacks were coming. I'm getting confused with some. We should have been the.
We should have been playing them in Dunedin, I think.
Yeah,
we should have been playing them this year. The autumn test internationals. Tonga. Oh, we are playing Australia. Yay!
That's what threw me. I'm thinking there was Australia.
Townsend v Rennie. This is 2 cats, two rave owners with leopards at the rave. That's what it is. It's Siegfried and Roy at the rave.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
Well, if they start dressing like Siegfried and Roy, it'll be even more interesting.
I can imagine Finn Russell dressing as Siegfried and Roy. He's got the white Lamborghini.
Oh yeah, him and Ali Price would just knock it off really well. Do you not think? Just imagine
Siegfried and Roy cosplay. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, stroking a tiger, nothing like it.
Hey, Craig, you got any belters and bams this week?
Yeah, I've got a couple of belters. First one is club rugby is back. This last weekend we had some pre-season games and there were some sevens tournaments going on, and so for me it's just fabulous to see my the under 18 squad I'm involved with. My son's under 18 squad are playing this weekend for the first time. It's just fantastic to have club rugby back, and I'm really excited about that. And the other belter is Greg Laidlaw and Matt Dawson both coming out in protection of our wee Finn, telling everyone that he's not a maverick, he's a real boy. And telling them all that, especially I've got to say Matt Dawson, I thought a lot of words come out of his mouth that I don't agree with, but to turn around and say, and funnily enough, if we talk about Damien McKenzie is in a similar style of Finn Russell madness and he is called a great for the All Blacks, and Finn Russell would be called a great anywhere else apart from this country where we call him a maverick, England call him a maverick. But I think for me it was great to see these guys coming out, people that I'm going to say this, people respect, and actually saying, hang on a minute, Finn Russell. It might be a little bit too late, to be honest. They should have been saying this many, many times before now, but I think it's great to see people backing him up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, particularly when Dawson, I don't think, whenever he wrote his 23s out, he wouldn't have Finn Russell in the 23.
No.
So, but not pot kettle, just you're a bit late to the party, Matt.
He didn't come out and say he was wrong. That's the thing as well, I suppose. Yeah, no apologies.
And Mercurial, I hate when people misuse Mercurial. He's just good, right? Mercurial means sometimes brilliant, sometimes rubbish. He's just good, right? Can we stop this ancient old? I mean, he's like, so let's say he has maybe one or two more bad games per season than someone like Johnny Sexton. It's still the rest of the time, 95% good games. People hit slumps in form. Owen Farrell's hit a slump in form, and they're all, jumping, try to jump in front of whatever newspaper or camera they can to insist that Owen Farrell is, a test match animal. And he's got a little ice in his veins, even though Sia Khaleesi said he looked like he was bricking it before the coin toss of the World Cup final. So yes, well, I'm good on Greg and Matt.
There was the interview on the official Scottish Rugby podcast is worth looking out with Finn. I say it's been a great week for us, by the way, because every single news outlet that has carried the stories of of the Finn Russell interview has said he was speaking to the Scottish Rugby podcast. So our listener numbers have shot up this week. So apologies to anybody who was disappointed when they tuned in to us chatting away last week.
But hopefully they said enough to get some ad money.
Well, that's it. There's ads at the start of the podcast. All they have to do is just listen to those and then hear my voice and go, "This clearly isn't Finn Russell."
What's going on?
This man, and then two people he claims to be Welsh that don't sound Welsh talking about the Lions. It's ridiculous. But on that podcast, it was pure Finn Russell. Like the kind of like, what did you think before he went on? The quote was something like, well, I didn't think he was that injured. And then they said, you need to go on. And I was like, oh, well, here we go then. And then I just walked on the pitch and said, come on, to Ali, come on, let's have some fun. This is like the pinnacle. This is like, in rugby terms, this is the absolute pinnacle of like any, particularly like British and Irish player reaches a deciding third test. Otherwise, any other player would be absolutely, I am focused on what I have to do. This is what I've got to do. And I'm so tunnel vision. Let's just have some fun. Away we go. And look, it gets results. Do you know what I mean? You can, all the people giving it for, he smiles during national anthems. He wins rugby games. It doesn't matter what he does. If he wants to go, if he goes on and he's relaxed, we know he plays well.
It just so happens that his idea of fun is winning international rugby matches.
Exactly.
Elite level, he enjoys being an elite athlete. So let him have his fun.
I don't. One of the bams for me was all the press this week saying Finn Russell's criticised Warren Gatland, and he hasn't. If you the actual he didn't at all. The quote was, "We talked in the week about going out and playing more expansive rugby, and in the first 10 minutes we didn't do that, and so I went on the pitch and that's what we did." So that's a criticism of Dan Biggar and maybe Ali Price. I suppose Ali Price can only do what Dan Biggar is offering him from the base of the scrum, but it's not. That's not a criticism of Warren Gatland. If you're saying in the week we talked about opening up more, that's a criticism of the players not executing the game plan. Well,
I think he was quoted in that interview that he said that was the plan, was to open up the game and play a faster tempo rugby, and it didn't happen. So maybe if he is going to be criticising anyone, just as you say, I think the finger's pointing straight at a certain Mr. Biggar. Because it seemed to be that, and that's what we all expected, and that's what we all wanted from a Tooney attack. We didn't get it, and I was absolutely shocked. I was giggling like a schoolboy when Finn Russell came on the pitch because I was so excited, because I've been so flat about the Lions and so upset and so agitated about the journalists and the commentators and the Twitter bile that's been going on, and then all of a sudden Finn Russell comes on and makes me feel all right.
Yeah,
and it was brilliant.
And it's, I think, if everyone's saying, "Oh, this is Gregor Townsend," if this is Gregor Townsend's great attack plan, then he's obviously a rubbish coach. It's like he's obviously it's the player. If the players aren't going on the pitch and executing what they're asking them to do, then the coaches can only do so much. They can't do a Razzie and actually be on the pitch with them, holding their hands.
No, that was sorry. Iain.
Oh, within like 3 minutes, he's got Alan Wynne-Jones chucking off loads. You know what I mean? that joie de vivre, good French word, saying he's playing in France, but he might be off to Japan. It's infectious, and even I don't know if you saw the likes of Keith Wood talking about Finn Russell. He was sort of like, I didn't think he should have been going at first, but then you look at that, and that is what this is obviously not verbatim, but he's like, that is what a Lion is. When you go on a Lions tour, the good players step up to the plate and they say, "Yep. I am this good. I am on this tour because I am this good." And he was the only one, or one of the few, who actually went out on that tour and has come back with credit. And I think 70 minutes of rugby, pretty much.
And I think that's if they'd won that game of rugby, he would have been the player of the. I don't think for a moment Mario Itoje would have won the player of the tournament, because it would have gone to Finn if they'd won that match, because it was a deciding match and he comes on and does that. And I think the other frustrating thing, and I think we're probably guilty of it too in Scotland, is when he's quiet, Finn Russell, when he's not doing the kind of running into traffic and throwing loop passes and just through, we think he's not had a good game. But it's just that he's smart enough not to try that. If it's not on, it's not on.
Yeah, his control's coming. His control has come in quite significantly now, and this is why I'm not getting too upset with people calling him one of, if not the best fly halves in the world at this moment in time, because he has now started to round his game off, and he's now his control on that. Yeah, people are saying minutes, and then he got beaten down by the South Africans. Well, no, actually, he was playing to the game, and he was being controlled. He was holding up. He was telling people where to be, and he was inviting people in to come for the ball, etc. So I think he is getting very close to being one of the best fly halves in the world.
Yeah. Any more belters and bams from either of you?
No.
I had one belter, and that was I've had a couple of discussions about 2025 and who's going to coach it, and I have heard all of that. I've heard Pat Lam. I've heard
this is approaching HITR territory. So
yeah. It's ridiculous.
Well, if you want to hear, I tell you what.
Yeah.
should we save this for Hands in the Ruck and we can have a
Save
good
it.
swear about it?
Absolutely.
Aye.
Okay. Let's leave that there then. So thank you very much, everybody who is, who's listened to us this week. Like I said, we're going to, if patrons want to hang around, we're going to do Hands in the Ruck in a moment. We'll be back next week. I'm not going to be back next week, but John's taking the helm next week. Be more Super 6 chat, catching up on any other news. We should start to get some squad news and other bits and bobs from the Edinburgh and Glasgow. For the moment, though, it is goodbye from me and goodbye from Craig and Ian.
Bye all.
Catch you later.
I have to figure out how to hang up from people now. This is the problem. It worked so wonderfully last week when I did this. Just bear with us while we hang up on you.
We should
click
stay
on
still as
remove.
possible to make people.
Oh
just
no, this is
think
how
that
I can do it. I can do it here. I've found an easy way to do it. Right, if we do this, look, we're fine.